Everyone, it is that time of the decade where I decide to start a new series. How long it lasts, nobody knows. I just want to yap over some invasion footage that a lot of y'all have probably never seen before because I just never did anything with it. I have a massive backlog of invasions as a result. So just treat it like Subway Surfers, I guess. And first thing I want to discuss is Duskbloods. And that's primarily because even though I've discussed it countless times on my Twitch stream, and I simulcast to YouTube, like you can go to the live tab and see like all my streams since like end of December 2023, something like that. Whenever we were allowed to start simulcasting to YouTube. So it's all there. But it's a mess to dig through. So I've never like had like a full-blown discussion of Duskbloods on my YouTube channel, just directly uploaded like I should be doing. So yeah, here I am, months late. But I have some concerns that I want to discuss. And if you're unfamiliar with me, I am primarily a Twitch streamer. I've been playing Soulsborne games since Demon Souls in 2009, so that's 16 years of these games, and I did the math, over 20,000 hours of mostly PvP. But I am known for being fairly against like meta. I find meta reliance extremely boring, which is part of my concern for Duskbloods that I'll get into in a moment. So yeah, the elephant in the room, From Software's legendary netcode / latency issues, joining forces with Nintendo Online and their fabulous reputation. That's going to be a sight to behold. There is a silver lining. If you look at the Night Rain network test, From pretty much just took the arena matchmaking menu, which was shit. They took that's been shit since day one arena, and they just kind of threw it into Night Rain, like in the network test. And I could have told you if Miyazaki would have called me up, even though he, wasn't working on it, but whatever. If he would have called me up and been like, "Hey, Peeve, it's your best pal Miyazaki here. We're gonna take the arena menu and just the matchmaking and just put it into Night Rain." I'd be like, that's a terrible idea. That's not going to work. Because anyone who's ever messed with the arena knows that the password matchmaking in Elden Ring, for the arena specifically, is shit. You're constantly having to have people like back out and try to restart their game, and everyone's huffing the copium, and it's like, oh, well, maybe we all back out together and then we rejoin, it'll work better. It's been an issue since day one. I haven't done arena in a long time, so maybe it got better. I don't see why it would. Anyway, it seemed like those same issues were in the network test for Night Rain. And what happened, no one could password matchmake for like the first like 2 or 3 sessions until they fixed it. But the point is, it became a glaring issue that they fixed. So I do have hope that now that PvP it's a PvPvE game. I'm not going to go over, I assume you all know what Duskbloods is by now. Miyazaki played some Tarkov, wanted to make his own. That seems to be the gist of it. So, so I assume you all kind of have the rundown on how that works. But PvP will be like at its core. And all the issues that we have known with PvP in these games, the issues that turn away most casual players and make them really hate when they get invaded because of how janky it is. Like, you can learn to play around it, you can learn to deal with the jank, but if you don't feel like putting in the effort to do all that, you're probably going to hate it. That might be like on the main stage. That I'm hoping will open up From Software's eyes and have them go, okay, especially Nintendo Online, probably, not helping. they might have to address some stuff. I don't know how. I don't know what they would do, but I'm hoping that at the very least, their future projects, the stuff they've learned from Night Rain and like their matchmaking, among other things, and what they will learn from PvP being a central focus for once instead of a side like afterthought. I'm hoping that love or hate Night Rain and Duskbloods, this will be a net positive for future titles. Anyway, back on track. That's the elephant in the room, the latency issues. It's going to happen. I just hope, they can find a way to make it acceptable by most players. But this is something else that's probably been discussed a lot. There's not going to be a very large amount of players to begin with. There'll be enough, but like Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, right? Like a lot of people who love PvP in these games are like, I ain't buying a Nintendo Switch 2 for this. And unless maybe if it's like the greatest thing I've ever seen. And that's fully understandable. So already people are like not into it because of the exclusivity. On top of that, a PvP centric game and something that can be labeled seemingly under the Extraction title, which a lot of people are already tiring of Extraction games, even though it's a Miyazaki Extraction game. So I'm hoping, he really does his thing and spices things up, which I'm sure he will. I think a lot of players who maybe they have a Nintendo Switch 2, they might not be interested in it just because it's PvP focus or Extraction or whatever. So already you're going to have the smaller player base, right? And then the ones who do get it might be turned away because of latency issues and jank. So all these things combining, not the best like starting point. Bring in another primary concern of mine. Metas in these games, as I said before, I'm known for just hating meta reliance. I think it's so boring. I don't know why so many people treat these games like they're going to Evo. It's never going to happen. You're not going to Evo. I would prefer like at least PvPers, people who, whether it be like PvPers I know or like people who are getting into PvP, there should come a point where you feel confident enough to branch out and try things that may not be quote unquote meta. And I'm not saying don't optimize your stats for said builds. Definitely do that. But you don't have to always have like the best thing. Because most of the encounters, at least from an invasion perspective, I'm not talking arena here. Most of the players you encounter are going to be noobs just trying to get through the game. And like, I don't know how much you really feel you need to sweat on like Kevin and little Timmy and their friend Billy. Like to each their own. But as an invader, I see what people are copying. I see the same builds 1,000 times over, the same gameplay styles, to where I can immediately pick out like, okay, a YouTuber told you what you're doing, and that's why you're using it. Like you can just tell after a while. You're just like, oh, you're using the thing. You have the full setup. You Googled this, and that's fine. It's hard to make a new build in these games. And especially, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but if you're doing PvE and you just want the invader out, fair, kick the invader's ass out of your game, whatever means necessary. But meta reliance, whether from players like that, that feel they really need it, or PvPers, whether, just getting into it, or veterans, or maybe the ones getting into it who are copying the veterans, because you've seen the videos. Most OP thing. This is so broken. Everyone does it. Like, it drives me crazy, but everyone does it. And it spreads these things like wildfire, and everyone starts using it. And you are going to be seeing that a lot. And so what I'm getting at is any meta in these games, unless you're the most brain rotted PvPer of all time, where you just think that like that these games have like this incredibly high skill ceiling where you're eventually like, it's a crime that it hasn't been picked up by Evo yet. Unless that's your mindset, you're going to look at the metas that these games produce and be like, this sucks. Like, the game has so much variety to offer, especially Elden Ring, and everyone's using the same like X amount of things. Like, metas form, it happens. It's going to happen. People want the win screen. But especially in these games, your build and your setup can do insanely heavy lifting. It's why like R1 spam was king until Elden Ring, and now it's, well, at least in Invasions, it's L2 spam. All right, enter Duskbloods. It's going to be the first game where PvP is like at the core, and that's going to make people even more competitive than before. They're going to think, oh, dude, this is like, you know, Miyazaki's Tarkov. I have to sweat my ass off. I have to. I got to get those dubs. I have to sweat. Let me find the strongest character with the strongest setup, because Miyazaki, I believe, did mention that there might be some kind of level of build craft. I don't think it'll be what we're used to. Maybe some mix between Night Rain as well as a few things you can equip or adjust. Who knows? But if they're able to, everyone will use the same thing. And that's all they're going to spam. And even though that happens in other games, I'm telling you, in these games, it's going to be especially mindless and especially boring. And that, my fear, could turn away. My fear is it could turn away the already small, comparatively. I mean, you know, it'll be big, but not like as big as Elden Ring's full reach. Nowhere near it. But it could turn away a lot of those players that the ones that are interested. If that's all you see, if you just see the same shit over and over and over. And as an invader, I'm telling you, people want that win screen. They will use the same mindless shit and spam it endlessly and not bat an eye. So how could From handle this and make it, you know, an engaging experience for everyone? First of all, the PvE side of it, we don't know. I mean, we don't know much, but maybe that's super in depth. I don't know. That would be nice. I think we need shenanigans. They have the Covenant system. They're bringing back Covenants. Don't know why Elden Ring doesn't have Covenants. It is one of my biggest gripes with the game. It makes no sense. There's so many opportunities for Covenants in Elden Ring. We have the Mohg's Great Rune, which is essentially functions as a Covenant because it only works as an invader. So it's like, why didn't we have more of that? We could have easily have had more of that. But instead, we got, you know, nothing. Well, Duskblood seems to be bringing them back. And that can spice things up. That could be cool. Have it where, you're encouraging players to maybe play in a way they normally wouldn't. I think one of them is you have to find, you're given a person's name, I think, and you have to find them in the match and befriend them and try to work with them. And maybe they won't want to. Maybe they'll just kill you. Or maybe you'll stab yourselves in the back later. Who knows? I don't know. That sounds like shenanigans to me. I like that. And then there's the opposite of that, where you have to hunt down someone, like a bounty hunt kind of a thing. And that's cool too. So if there's like a bunch of stuff like that really mixes up the gameplay, that could be great. But the best part of Invasions for me in these games is, and I know I keep comparing it to Invasions because this isn't going to be, as far as we know, this isn't going to be like an arena setting. You know, like there's going to be an open world. People are going to be wandering, encountering each other, getting third partied. It's closer to Invasions than it is Arena. And the thing that has kept me interested in Invasions for so long is that unknown element. You don't know where you're going to appear, especially if you're doing like Invade Anywhere. You don't know where you're going to show up. You know, most times it's going to be Limgrave or Liurnia Gank Squad, let's be honest. You don't know where you're going to show up. You don't know what they're going to be doing. You don't know what they're going to have. Maybe someone does something really stupid and like falls off a cliff and you get a laugh out of it. There's a ton of like unknown elements to Invasions that keep them interesting. Now, granted, you are fighting 2 to 3 players at a time, and I love that shit. That's what that's what I live for. I really enjoy that, and we're definitely going to be seeing that kind of stuff in Duskbloods. But I think focusing on that unknown element and the potential of shenanigans can really help cut like the sweat lard desperation. And I really hope they do a good job with that, because otherwise you're going to have latency problems. You're going to have an already small player base. And then the ones that are interested are going to be turned away from what is inevitably going to be an extremely boring meta that will take hold. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but because I've done a few takes of this already. If they have like, there's going to be like 12 heroes, right? And that I think gives me hope as well, because that'll make it a lot easier, I'd imagine, to balance things than like a bunch of stats and a million different weapons and ashes of war and spells and miracles and stuff. So maybe they can stay on top of it and keep the unknown, like unexpected elements up there. And that, I think, could maybe make it peak. I hope. like I said, like it's a game, as far as I'm concerned, it's made for me. But I am very aware of how bad it could go. So thank you, Miyazaki, for handcrafting this for me in particular after all this time. You are a great dad. I love you. He doesn't know I'm his son, but you know, that's fine. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Duskbloods. I hope the concerns I have get addressed rather quickly, as they inevitably, you know, show up. And I hope it's unique and engaging for everyone involved, and doesn't just devolve into meta reliance desperation that just makes the entire experience miserable for everyone. So only time will tell. Network test soon. I'm announcing that right now. Source, I made it up, but if it's 2026, if it's spring 2026, network test has to be 2025. It has to be. If January rolls around and we haven't heard any news on a network test, we're probably looking at like late 2026. So I guess we'll know soon. Anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on Duskbloods. Sorry it's like 20 years late to the party. Keep an eye out for the next one of these Yap sessions. I think it'll be about Ultima Online. I'm looking to do a private Ultima Online server, and I could talk about that for a very long time. So, if for some weird reason you want to listen to that while watching some more invasion footage, keep an eye out for the next one of these. Anyway, see y'all then. Bit of an extra note that I'm adding on to the end here. if you've been around the channel for a very long time and you remember the merch we did many, many years ago, we brought it all back. We got more designs on the way. The new merch store is live. Links in the description. Even if you're not familiar with my stuff, I don't mess around whenever it comes to merch, so there might be stuff there that you like. Anyway, thanks again.